The Anunnaki have intrigued and captivated people for centuries, their names whispered in awe and speculation. They are not merely ancient figures from a bygone era, they are enigmatic beings whose influence pulses through the veins of history and myth. Their story is one of mystery, ancient knowledge, and an enduring fascination that refuses to fade. In the heart of Mesopotamia, where the sun scorched the land and rivers wove their paths like veins through the earth, the Anunnaki were believed to reside. The Sumerians, who thrived in this cradle of civilization, worshipped these beings as gods of immense power and wisdom. They painted the Anunnaki as rulers of the cosmos, shaping the very fabric of existence with their divine hands. The grandeur of their deities stretched across the skies, their names etched into stone tablets and ancient myths. The Anunnaki were often depicted as both creators and overseers. According to ancient texts, they came from the heavens, descending upon the earth to mold and guide the early humans. Some believe they were extraterrestrial beings, their advanced knowledge and technology misinterpreted as divine power. The legends speak of their extraordinary gifts to humanity, laws, knowledge, and even the arts. Their presence seemed to merge the divine with the human in ways that defy our modern understanding. Archaeological discoveries offer tantalizing glimpses into the world of the Anunnaki. Excavations of ancient Sumerian cities reveal intricate depictions of these gods on tablets and bas-reliefs. The iconic image of the Anunnaki, often shown with horned helmets and imposing figures, speaks of their celestial origins and otherworldly nature. These artifacts are more than relics, they are whispers from the past, echoing with stories of grandeur and awe. In the ruins of ancient temples and ziggurats, remnants of their worship linger like echoes. The grandeur of these structures, built to honor the Anunnaki, reveals a society that revered these deities with all their heart. The artistry and craftsmanship of these temples reflect not just religious devotion but also a deep-seated belief in the Anunnaki's power and presence. Scholars and researchers have been drawn to the Anunnaki with an insatiable curiosity. The texts that mention them are a puzzle, written in cuneiform script on clay tablets that have survived the ravages of time. These texts are more than just historical documents, they are fragments of a once vibrant mythology, offering a glimpse into a world where gods and humans intertwined. Yet, despite all the evidence, the true nature of the Anunnaki remains shrouded in mystery. The ancient texts are open to interpretation, and debates rage on about whether these beings were truly divine, alien, or something entirely different. Every discovery, every new interpretation adds to the enigma, fueling the imagination and wonder of those who seek to understand these ancient deities. The Anunnaki's story is not just about ancient gods, but about a deep yearning to connect with something greater than ourselves. Their presence in our history and mythology taps into a fundamental desire to understand the unknown, to find meaning in the mysteries that have puzzled humanity for millennia. In the cradle of civilization, where the Tigris and Euphrates rivers met, a remarkable society was born. The Sumerians, who lived in this ancient land, built a world that would shape human history forever. Their story begins in the dusty plains of Mesopotamia, where their dreams and ingenuity forged a civilization that laid the foundation for countless advancements. From the very start, the Sumerians were driven by a powerful vision. Their cities, like Uruk, Ur, and Eridu, rose from the soil, not just as places to live, but as symbols of their boundless creativity and ambition. These early cities were more than mere settlements, they were bustling centers of life, brimming with activity, culture, and innovation. People from all walks of life came together, transforming simple communities into thriving urban landscapes. The heart of Sumerian society was its remarkable ability to harness and manage resources. The Sumerians mastered irrigation, turning the arid land into fertile fields. They created an intricate network of canals and ditches, bringing water from the rivers to their crops. This was no small feat, it required an extraordinary understanding of engineering and cooperation among the people. The fields flourished, and with them, the Sumerian population grew, leading to more complex societies and cities. But their achievements went far beyond agriculture. The Sumerians invented writing, a gift to the world that began with simple pictographs and evolved into the cuneiform script. This new form of communication allowed them to record laws, trade transactions, and stories. It was more than just writing, it was a way to preserve their culture and pass on knowledge through generations. The clay tablets that survived the ages are not just artifacts, they are the voices of a people who wanted to be remembered. In the realm of technology, the Sumerians were pioneers. They developed the wheel, a seemingly small invention that revolutionized transportation and trade. Their advances in mathematics and astronomy were equally profound. They devised a calendar based on lunar cycles and made significant strides in understanding the movements of celestial bodies. Their knowledge of the stars was not just for navigation, it was intertwined with their religious beliefs and daily life. The Sumerians also left behind a legacy of remarkable art and architecture. Their temples and ziggurats, towering structures that reached toward the heavens, were expressions of their devotion and craftsmanship. The carvings and sculptures that adorned these buildings told stories of gods and heroes, reflecting a society that cherished both beauty and faith. Socially, the Sumerians were innovators in governance and law. They established one of the earliest known legal codes, setting standards for justice and order. This code wasn't just about rules, it was about creating a fair society where rights and responsibilities were clearly defined. It marked a crucial step in the development of organized states and legal systems. Every aspect of Sumerian life was interconnected, weaving a rich tapestry of culture, technology, and innovation. Their contributions laid the groundwork for future civilizations, and their influence stretched far beyond their time. The echoes of their achievements are felt even today, a testament to a people whose ingenuity and spirit shaped the very course of history. In the ancient heart of Mesopotamia, where the sun cast long shadows over the land, the Sumerians wove a tapestry of beliefs that touched every part of their lives. Their religion and mythology were not just stories, they were the lifeblood of their existence, shaping their understanding of the world and their place in it. The Sumerian gods were more than distant deities, they were powerful forces whose actions and decisions influenced every aspect of human life. At the core of Sumerian religion was a pantheon of gods, each with distinct roles and attributes. The most revered was Enlil, the god of wind and storms. Enlil was seen as a mighty and often unpredictable force, shaping the weather and controlling the elements. His power was immense, and his influence was felt in both the calming breezes and the raging tempests. The Sumerians believed Enlil had a hand in everything from agriculture to the fate of kings. Enki, the god of water and wisdom, was another central figure. Unlike Enlil's sometimes capricious nature, Enki was known for his kindness and cleverness. He was the protector of humanity, offering guidance and knowledge. Enki's role was crucial in the creation myths, where he helped to shape the world and provide for the needs of humankind. His wisdom was reflected in the innovations and advancements that helped the Sumerians thrive. Ninhursag, the earth goddess, embodied fertility and growth. Her presence was felt in the rich soil and the flourishing crops. The Sumerians honored her for the life-giving qualities she bestowed upon the land. Ninhursag's role in mythology was both nurturing and protective, ensuring that the earth remained fertile and the people remained prosperous. Anu, the sky god, was another towering figure in Sumerian mythology. His domain was the heavens, and he was often seen as the father of the gods. Anu's vast power and authority made him a central figure in the divine hierarchy. He was associated with the vast, uncharted expanse above, symbolizing the endless possibilities and the unknown that lay beyond human reach. The myths that emerged from these beliefs were rich and vivid, capturing the imagination of the Sumerian people. One of the most famous stories is the Epic of Gilgamesh, a tale of a great king's quest for immortality. Gilgamesh's journey was filled with encounters with gods and mythical beings, each encounter revealing profound truths about life and the human condition. The story spoke to the Sumerians' desire to understand their place in the cosmos and the nature of existence. Another central myth is the story of the Great Flood, which mirrors other ancient flood legends. In this tale, the gods decide to flood the earth to rid it of humanity's noise and chaos. Only one man, Utnapishtim, is spared because of his piety and wisdom. The flood myth reflects the Sumerians' understanding of divine justice and the fragile relationship between humans and gods. These myths and beliefs were not just abstract ideas, they were woven into the very fabric of daily life. Temples and ziggurats were built as places to honor the gods, and rituals were performed to seek their favor and ensure their protection. Festivals, sacrifices, and prayers were all part of a complex system designed to maintain harmony between the human and divine realms. Through their religion and mythology, the Sumerians sought to connect with the divine and understand the mysteries of life. Their gods were not distant and indifferent, but active participants in the world, shaping events and guiding humanity. The stories they told were a way of making sense of the world around them, a way of finding meaning in the chaos and beauty of existence. In the dusty streets of their ancient cities, amid the towering temples and bustling marketplaces, the Sumerians lived their faith with a profound sense of connection to the divine. Their gods were not just figures of legend, but real forces that shaped their world and their lives. Through their myths and rituals, the Sumerians left a legacy of belief and wonder that continues to resonate through the ages. The name Anunnaki echoes with a mysterious resonance, stirring the imagination with visions of ancient gods who watched over humanity from the heavens. To the Sumerians, the Anunnaki were more than just mythological figures, they were powerful deities whose influence was felt in every corner of their world. Their presence was believed to shape destinies, guide rulers, and even control the very elements. The term Anunnaki itself is shrouded in complexity. It is often translated as those who came from the heavens or princely offspring. This definition hints at a divine or extraterrestrial origin, suggesting that the Anunnaki were beings who descended from the sky to interact with the people of Earth. The Sumerians used this term to refer to a group of gods who were both revered and feared, their power and authority shaping the fabric of ancient Mesopotamian society. Different viewpoints about the Anunnaki paint a fascinating and varied picture. In traditional Sumerian mythology, the Anunnaki were seen as a council of gods, each with specific roles and responsibilities. They were believed to be involved in creating and ruling over humanity, overseeing everything from agriculture to the cosmos. Their actions were recorded in ancient texts and inscriptions, which depicted them as powerful and influential beings, integral to the world's creation and governance. Some interpretations suggest that the Anunnaki were not just gods, but had a more tangible presence on Earth. According to these theories, the Anunnaki were extraterrestrial beings who came to Mesopotamia thousands of years ago. This idea was popularized by writers like Zecharia Sitchin, who proposed that the Anunnaki were visitors from another planet, whose advanced technology and knowledge were misinterpreted as divine power. These theories suggest that the Anunnaki played a crucial role in shaping human civilization, using their advanced knowledge to guide and influence early societies. On the other hand, mainstream scholarship views the Anunnaki primarily as mythological figures. According to this perspective, the stories of the Anunnaki are symbolic representations of natural forces and divine powers, reflecting the Sumerians' understanding of the world around them. The Anunnaki, in this view, are seen as complex characters in a rich tapestry of myth, embodying the principles of divine justice, creation, and order. The fascination with the Anunnaki extends beyond academic circles into popular culture, where they are often portrayed as ancient astronauts or deities with extraordinary powers. Movies, books, and television shows have seized upon the idea of the Anunnaki as beings from another world, further fueling speculation and intrigue. This portrayal captures the imagination of many, blending ancient myths with modern concepts of extraterrestrial life and advanced technology. Despite the varying interpretations, one thing remains clear: the Anunnaki hold a special place in the human imagination. Their stories, whether seen through the lens of ancient mythology or modern speculation, reflect a deep-seated desire to understand our origins and our connection to the cosmos. The mystery of who the Anunnaki were continues to captivate and inspire, inviting us to ponder the ancient whispers of gods who once walked among us. Enlil, the chief deity of the Sumerian Pantheon, commands both reverence and awe, his presence looming over the ancient landscape like a powerful storm. As the god of wind and storm, Enlil was more than just a force of nature, he was a ruler of the cosmos, his will shaping the world and its fate. In the heart of Sumerian mythology, Enlil stood as the supreme deity, wielding control over the skies and the weather. His voice was the roar of thunder, his breath the gust of wind that swept across the land. The Sumerians believed that Enlil's commands could bring both life-giving rains and devastating storms, his moods reflecting the balance of nature itself. To the people, Enlil was a force that could both bless and curse, his power immense and unpredictable. One of the most poignant myths involving Enlil tells of his decision to flood the world. According to the legend, humanity had become too noisy and disruptive, causing the gods to grow weary. Enlil, in his anger, resolved to wipe out mankind with a great deluge. This myth, echoed in various cultures and stories, reflects the gods' struggle with humanity's behavior and their attempts to restore balance to the world. The flood was not merely a punishment but a dramatic intervention meant to reset the order of things. In this tale, Utnapishtim, a wise and pious man, is chosen to survive the flood. Guided by the god Ea, who defies Enlil's wrath to save humanity, Utnapishtim builds a massive boat to preserve life. This story speaks to the themes of divine justice and mercy, showing that even the most powerful gods can be swayed by compassion. Enlil's role in the flood narrative highlights his authority and his complex relationship with humanity, a relationship marked by both the potential for great destruction and the possibility of redemption. Enlil's significance is also evident in the creation myths. He was seen as a deity who shaped the earth and established the natural order. According to the legends, Enlil played a crucial role in the formation of the world, separating heaven from earth and bringing structure to the chaos. His actions were not just about creating a habitable world, but about imposing divine order and ensuring that everything functioned according to his will. Another key myth involves Enlil's relationship with the other gods. As a leader, he was often depicted as a figure who made important decisions and mediated conflicts among the deities. His interactions with other gods reveal a complex and sometimes turbulent divine hierarchy, where power dynamics and personal relationships influenced the course of events. These stories showcase Enlil not just as a distant ruler but as a being deeply involved in the divine drama of the cosmos. The Sumerians' worship of Enlil was profound, with temples dedicated to him and rituals performed in his honor. His followers believed that he had the power to influence their lives in significant ways, from the success of their crops to the safety of their homes. The reverence for Enlil was a testament to the profound impact that this deity had on the Sumerian worldview. Through the myths and legends surrounding Enlil, we see a deity who was both a creator and a destroyer, a figure whose presence was felt in every storm and breeze. His stories reflect the ancient people's attempts to understand and appease the forces that governed their world. Enlil's legacy endures as a powerful symbol of divine authority and the eternal struggle to balance creation with chaos. In the ancient whispers of Mesopotamian lore, Enki emerges as a beacon of wisdom and compassion, a deity whose presence brings life and knowledge to the world. As the god of water, Enki was more than just a divine figure. He was the very essence of life-giving sustenance, flowing through the rivers and streams that nourished the land. Enki's attributes were as vast as the rivers he controlled. He was revered as the god of wisdom, endowed with boundless knowledge and understanding. In the Sumerian worldview, wisdom was not just intellectual but practical, guiding humanity in their everyday lives. Enki's wisdom was believed to be a force of great power, capable of solving problems, healing the sick, and even shaping the future. His intelligence was seen as a divine gift, a light that illuminated the path through the darkness of ignorance. One of the most compelling stories about Enki is his role in the creation of humanity. In these ancient myths, Enki was the deity who took pity on the early humans, who were suffering under the harsh rule of the gods. The story tells of how the gods, frustrated with their labor, decided to create humans to take over the toil of maintaining the earth. Enki, however, saw the potential in humanity and chose to bestow upon them the gift of knowledge and skill. His actions were driven by a deep compassion, highlighting his role as a protector and benefactor of humankind. Enki's influence extended to the realm of healing and magic. He was known to have the power to cure ailments and diseases, a divine physician whose touch could restore health and vitality. In the myths, Enki's magic was often used to remedy the suffering of both humans and gods, showcasing his benevolent nature and his crucial role in maintaining balance and harmony in the world. One of the most famous stories involving Enki is the tale of the Great Flood. Unlike the flood sent by Enlil, which was meant to destroy humanity, Enki played a critical role in preserving life. When the flood was decreed by the gods to punish humanity, Enki secretly warned Utnapishtim, a wise and righteous man, about the impending disaster. Enki's intervention was a testament to his compassion and his commitment to preserving life, even against the will of other gods. In another myth, Enki is depicted as the creator of the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, the lifeblood of Mesopotamian agriculture. This story reveals how Enki shaped the landscape to benefit humanity, channeling his divine power to ensure that the land was fertile and productive. His role in creating these rivers was not just about physical transformation, but also about providing a sustainable source of life and prosperity for the Sumerian people. Enki's stories are filled with themes of wisdom, creativity, and benevolence. He was a god who used his intelligence and powers to improve the human condition, standing as a figure of hope and salvation. His ability to navigate the complexities of both the divine and mortal realms made him a revered and beloved deity, his name etched into the fabric of Sumerian culture and religion. Through the myths and legends, Enki's legacy endures as a symbol of divine wisdom and compassion. His actions, driven by a profound sense of empathy and understanding, shaped the world and the lives of those who worshipped him. Enki's stories remind us of the power of knowledge and the importance of using it for the greater good, leaving a lasting impression on the ancient world and beyond. In the heart of ancient Sumer, where the fields stretched out under the watchful gaze of the heavens, Ninhursag, the earth goddess, held the land in her nurturing embrace. She was not merely a deity, she was the living embodiment of the earth's life-giving power. Her role in creation and fertility was as fundamental and vital as the soil that sustained crops and the rains that brought life to the parched land. Ninhursag's presence was felt in every grain of wheat and every burgeoning field. As the goddess of fertility, she was believed to be responsible for the earth's bounty, ensuring that crops grew plentifully and that the land remained fertile. Her influence extended to all aspects of nature, from the lushness of the vegetation to the very essence of life itself. The Sumerians looked to her for the prosperity of their harvests and the health of their livestock, understanding that without her blessings, life would falter. One of the most touching myths about Ninhursag reveals her deep connection to creation and healing. According to the legend, the gods, in their efforts to shape the world, created a great garden that was lush and verdant, but it lacked the touch of life that only Ninhursag could provide. She breathed life into the garden, transforming it into a paradise of flourishing flora and fauna. This act of creation was not just about shaping the physical world, it was about instilling it with vitality and growth. In another poignant myth, Ninhursag is depicted as a mother who suffers deeply due to the plight of her creations. The story tells of a time when the earth became sick and barren, afflicted by a curse that caused crops to wither and the land to dry up. Ninhursag, deeply pained by the suffering of her children, took on the task of healing the earth. She worked tirelessly to restore the balance, using her divine powers to cleanse and rejuvenate the land. Her compassion was so profound that it led to the revival of the earth's fertility, a testament to her unwavering dedication and love for her creations. The rituals dedicated to Ninhursag were filled with reverence and gratitude. Festivals and ceremonies were held to honor her and seek her blessings. Offerings of the first fruits of the harvest, freshly baked bread, and richly adorned altars were part of the ceremonies, symbolizing the gratitude of the people for her bountiful gifts. These rituals were not just acts of worship but expressions of a deep-seated appreciation for the earth's fertility and the goddess who made it possible. In the fields and temples, the people of Sumer recognized the vital role Ninhursag played in their daily lives. Her influence extended beyond the mythical and ceremonial. It was a practical, essential force that touched every aspect of their existence. The cycles of planting and harvest, the rhythms of growth and renewal, were all seen as manifestations of her divine will. Ninhursag's legacy is a poignant reminder of the deep connection between humanity and the earth. Her role in creation and fertility highlights the profound interdependence between people and nature. Through her myths and the rituals that honored her, Ninhursag's presence was a comforting and reassuring force, a divine protector who ensured that the earth remained a place of life and abundance. Above the vast expanse of the Mesopotamian sky, Anu reigned supreme, a majestic presence whose authority extended over the heavens. As the sky god, Anu embodied the infinite stretch of the firmament, his gaze overseeing the entire cosmos. His role was not just one of oversight, but of profound influence, shaping the destinies of gods and humans alike. Anu's power was immense, his authority as boundless as the sky itself. In the Sumerian worldview, he was the father of the gods, the ultimate deity whose decisions could alter the course of existence. Anu's influence was reflected in the very structure of the heavens, his will governing the order and balance of the universe. He was seen as the source of divine law and justice, ensuring that cosmic order was maintained and that the actions of gods and mortals were kept in harmony with divine will. One of the most stirring stories about Anu involves his role in the epic conflict between the gods and the monstrous Tiamat. In this dramatic tale, the chaos of Tiamat threatened the stability of the universe. Anu, although not directly engaged in the battle, played a pivotal role by granting divine authority and support to his son, Marduk, who would become the hero of the conflict. Through this story, Anu's immense power and his position as the ultimate source of divine authority are vividly illustrated. His decision set the stage for the dramatic clash that would shape the cosmos and establish order. Anu was not just a distant deity, his influence was felt in the daily lives of the Sumerians through various worship practices. Temples dedicated to Anu were grand and imposing, reflecting his status as the supreme god. In these sacred spaces, priests and worshippers performed rituals and sacrifices to honor him, seeking his favor and guidance. The rituals were elaborate, involving offerings of food, incense, and precious items, all meant to appease Anu and ensure that his benevolence was bestowed upon the people. One particularly moving ritual involved the New Year's festival, where Anu's role was central to the celebration of renewal and the reaffirmation of cosmic order. During this festival, the king of the city would perform symbolic acts of submission and homage to Anu, emphasizing the divine right of kingship and the sacred bond between the gods and the rulers of the land. This ritual underscored Anu's role not just as a celestial being but as an integral part of the earthly governance and societal order. The stories and rituals surrounding Anu highlight the profound connection between the divine and the mundane. His presence was felt in the celestial movements and the earthly events, his influence extending across both realms. Through these narratives and worship practices, Anu was depicted not just as a distant deity but as a powerful and active force in the world. His authority shaped the fate of gods and humans alike, a testament to the awe-inspiring and heart-stirring nature of his divine presence. In the ancient whispers of Sumer, the story of creation unfolds like a majestic tapestry, woven by the hands of divine beings whose power shaped the very fabric of existence. The Anunnaki, a pantheon of gods, were central to this epic saga, their actions crafting the world and setting the stage for all that was to come. At the dawn of time, before the world as we know it existed, there was only a vast, chaotic expanse, water mingled with the abyss of the cosmos. Out of this primordial chaos emerged the Anunnaki, a group of powerful deities with the divine authority to bring order and creation to the formless void. Their arrival marked the beginning of a cosmic transformation that would set the course for everything that followed. The Anunnaki, led by the great gods such as Anu, Enlil, and Enki, undertook the monumental task of shaping the universe. The first act of creation involved the separation of the heavens and the earth, a monumental achievement that brought structure to the chaotic waters. Anu, the sky god, took his place above, while Enlil, the god of wind and storm, shaped the earth below. Their efforts created the fundamental boundaries of the world, establishing the sky as a dome of order over the land. In their divine wisdom, the Anunnaki then turned their attention to the creation of life. They fashioned the land into fertile plains and lush gardens, creating rivers that would sustain and nourish all that grew. Enki, known for his wisdom and compassion, played a pivotal role in this part of the creation. His touch brought life to the rivers and fields, ensuring that the land would flourish with abundance. The myths recount a tender and poignant story of how the Anunnaki created humanity. The gods, in their divine deliberations, decided that the labor of maintaining the earth was too great for them alone. They sought to create beings who could take on this burden. In a moment of divine inspiration, Enki and Ninhursag, the earth goddess, collaborated to create the first humans from clay. Their creation was not just about physical form, but also about endowing these beings with the gift of intelligence and skill. The Anunnaki's decision to create humans was driven by a deep desire to share the responsibilities of the world and to foster a connection between the divine and the mortal realms. As the world took shape, the Anunnaki established cities and civilizations, each god taking their place in overseeing different aspects of the world. They set the rhythms of life, from the cycles of the moon to the changing seasons. Each deity contributed their unique attributes to the world, creating a harmonious balance where every element had its place and purpose. The creation myth of the Anunnaki is a tale of divine collaboration and profound impact. It is a story that reflects the gods' efforts to bring order to chaos, to craft a world that could sustain and nurture life. Their actions were not just about shaping the physical world, but about creating a living, breathing entity where gods and humans could interact and thrive. Through their mighty endeavors, the Anunnaki set the stage for the complex and rich tapestry of life that would unfold in the centuries to come. The Epic of Gilgamesh stands as one of the most stirring tales from ancient Mesopotamia, a story that resonates with timeless themes of heroism, friendship, and the quest for immortality. This epic is not just a tale of a king's adventures, but also a profound reflection of the divine presence of the Anunnaki, whose influence shapes the very fabric of the narrative. Gilgamesh, the historical king of Uruk, emerges in the epic as a larger-than-life figure, endowed with strength and ambition that set him apart from ordinary mortals. His story begins with a sense of dissatisfaction, a longing for meaning beyond the material successes of his reign. This inner turmoil sets the stage for his epic quest, where he encounters gods and experiences that reveal the profound connections between humans and the divine. The Anunnaki's involvement in Gilgamesh's story is central and deeply moving. The epic reveals their complex relationship with humanity, characterized by both guidance and challenge. The gods play pivotal roles in shaping the fate of Gilgamesh and his friend Enkidu, whose bond becomes the heart of the narrative. One of the most poignant moments in the epic is the divine response to the friendship between Gilgamesh and Enkidu. The gods, observing the strength of their bond, feel a mixture of admiration and concern. They decide to intervene, sending the monstrous Humbaba to challenge them. This divine action, while seemingly punitive, underscores the gods' role in maintaining balance and testing the worth of human endeavors. The battle with Humbaba, a fearsome guardian of the cedar forest, becomes a turning point that highlights the Anunnaki's influence over Gilgamesh's fate. Enkidu's death is one of the most heart-wrenching parts of the epic. His passing is not just a personal loss for Gilgamesh, but a moment that brings the divine into stark focus. The gods decree Enkidu's fate as part of their grand design, revealing their power over life and death. Gilgamesh's grief and his subsequent quest for immortality reflect his struggle to understand the divine will and the limits placed upon human existence. In his quest, Gilgamesh encounters Utnapishtim, a character whose story mirrors the Sumerian flood myth, another testament to the Anunnaki's role in shaping human history. Utnapishtim, blessed with eternal life by the gods, becomes a symbol of both hope and despair for Gilgamesh. His tale of surviving the Great Flood and receiving immortality from the gods connects directly to the creation myths involving the Anunnaki, illustrating how divine decisions impact the human experience. Gilgamesh's journey to find eternal life becomes a profound exploration of human limits and the search for meaning. His interactions with the gods reveal their deep connection to his fate and the lessons they impart about the nature of existence. The epic portrays the Anunnaki as powerful beings whose actions and decisions are crucial in guiding and shaping the destinies of mortals. Their involvement adds a layer of divine purpose and complexity to Gilgamesh's quest, making it a story that transcends time and speaks to the universal struggle with mortality and the search for significance. The story's climax, where Gilgamesh returns to his city, embraces his human limitations, and focuses on leaving a lasting legacy, reflects the ultimate lesson imparted by the Anunnaki. It's a powerful message about the value of human achievements and the importance of finding meaning in one's actions rather than seeking the unattainable. In the epic, the Anunnaki's presence is felt not just through their direct interventions, but through the profound themes that emerge from Gilgamesh's journey. Their involvement shapes the narrative and provides a divine perspective on the challenges and triumphs of human existence. The epic thus becomes a timeless testament to the interplay between human ambition and divine will, illustrating the enduring connection between the mortal and the divine. In the ancient world of Sumer, there is a story so powerful it echoes through time, carrying with it the weight of divine intervention and the fragility of human life. This is the story of the Great Flood, a tale that reveals the profound influence of the Anunnaki and connects deeply with similar myths from other cultures. The Sumerian flood story centers around the figure of Utnapishtim, a man chosen by the gods to survive a cataclysmic deluge that would wipe out all life on Earth. The flood was no random act of destruction but a deliberate action by the Anunnaki, intended to cleanse the world of its noise and chaos. The gods, burdened by the clamor of humanity and the corruption that had spread, decided that only a great flood could restore order and tranquility. As the floodwaters began to rise, Utnapishtim and his family were instructed to build a massive boat, a vessel that would save them from the impending devastation. This boat, like a lifeboat for humanity, was built to withstand the torrents and preserve life. As the rains poured down and the waters surged, Utnapishtim's boat floated above the chaos, carrying with it a remnant of life to repopulate the earth once the storm subsided. The image of this boat, floating amidst the endless waters, becomes a haunting symbol of survival and hope. The story captures the sheer terror and awe of witnessing nature's immense power, with the floodwaters representing both a divine punishment and a means of rebirth. As the rain ceased and the waters began to recede, Utnapishtim's boat came to rest on a mountain, a sacred place where he would later make offerings to the gods, thanking them for their mercy and seeking their blessing for a new beginning. This Sumerian flood myth resonates profoundly with other ancient flood stories, such as the biblical account of Noah's Ark and the Hindu tale of Manu. In each of these stories, the flood is a divine response to human failings, a reset for the world and a chance for humanity to start anew. The similarities between these myths highlight a shared understanding of the flood as a powerful symbol of cleansing and renewal, as well as a reminder of the gods' control over human fate. In the biblical account, Noah is warned by God about the impending flood and builds an ark to save his family and pairs of every animal species. The story carries similar themes of divine judgment and mercy, illustrating a universal archetype of a chosen few surviving a great cataclysm. In Hindu mythology, Manu is warned by the god Vishnu about a flood that will destroy the world. Manu builds a boat, which is then guided by Vishnu's fish incarnation to safety. The parallels between these stories emphasize a shared motif of divine intervention and salvation through careful preparation and faith. The Sumerian flood story, with its depiction of the Anunnaki's role, adds a unique dimension to these universal themes. The gods' decision to cleanse the world reflects their deep involvement in the balance of cosmic order, and Utnapishtim's survival becomes a testament to divine favor and human resilience. This tale, steeped in emotion and divine drama, captures the essence of humanity's vulnerability and the hope for renewal amidst overwhelming odds. As the floodwaters receded, the world was left transformed, a poignant reminder of the gods' power and the fragility of human life. Utnapishtim's story stands as a powerful symbol of survival and divine grace, illustrating the profound impact of the Anunnaki on the Sumerian understanding of life, destruction, and rebirth. Through these ancient myths, the echoes of this great flood resonate across cultures and centuries, connecting us to a shared heritage of awe and reverence for the divine forces that shape our world. In the shadowy corners of ancient myths and texts, a provocative idea has taken hold, a theory that suggests humanity's early civilizations were influenced, if not guided, by beings from the stars. Known as the ancient astronaut hypothesis, this theory proposes that extraterrestrial beings visited Earth in ancient times and played a crucial role in shaping human history and culture. At the heart of this theory is a simple yet intriguing notion: the advanced knowledge and technologies of early human civilizations could have come from visitors beyond our world. The hypothesis proposes that these visitors, often identified as gods or divine beings in ancient texts, were actually extraterrestrial astronauts who left an indelible mark on human development. The theory is built on the observation that ancient civilizations, such as those in Sumer, Egypt, and the Americas, achieved remarkable technological and architectural feats that seem almost beyond their capabilities. The pyramids of Egypt, the intricate astronomical alignments of ancient monuments, and the complex astronomical knowledge recorded in early texts all serve as evidence for proponents of the theory. One of the most influential figures in promoting the ancient astronaut hypothesis is Erich von Däniken, whose groundbreaking book Chariots of the Gods brought the theory to a wider audience. Von Däniken argued that many ancient texts and artifacts, which describe gods descending from the heavens and bestowing knowledge upon humanity, could be interpreted as evidence of extraterrestrial contact. He suggested that these gods were, in fact, advanced space travelers who shared their technology with early humans. Another key figure in this field is Zecharia Sitchin, who proposed that the Sumerian gods, including the Anunnaki, were actually astronauts from a distant planet called Nibiru. According to Sitchin, the Anunnaki's advanced technology and knowledge were pivotal in the development of human civilization. His interpretations of ancient Sumerian texts, though controversial and debated, have provided a framework for understanding the potential extraterrestrial origins of these gods. The ancient astronaut hypothesis also draws upon the interpretation of various ancient myths and symbols. For instance, some theorists point to the detailed descriptions of flying machines and other advanced technology in ancient texts, suggesting that these accounts are remnants of real, advanced technologies encountered by early humans. The depiction of gods with star-like attributes and their ability to traverse the heavens is seen as evidence of their extraterrestrial origins. The theory has captivated imaginations with its dramatic implications, that ancient human achievements were not solely the result of human ingenuity but also the gifts and guidance of beings from beyond our planet. It offers a thrilling perspective on history, suggesting that our ancestors were not alone in their quest for knowledge and understanding, but were instead part of a much larger cosmic narrative. As mesmerizing as this theory is, it is important to recognize that it remains speculative and controversial. Critics argue that the achievements of ancient civilizations can be explained through human ingenuity and cultural evolution without invoking extraterrestrial intervention. They point out that many of the technological marvels of ancient times were the result of complex social and cultural developments rather than external influences. Nevertheless, the ancient astronaut hypothesis continues to intrigue and inspire. It challenges conventional views of history and encourages us to look at ancient texts and artifacts with fresh eyes. Whether viewed as a compelling alternative history or as a fascinating speculative idea, it reminds us of the endless possibilities of human imagination and our eternal quest to understand our place in the cosmos. In the dusty archives of ancient Sumer, a tantalizing mystery awaits those who dare to read between the lines. The texts of this early civilization whisper of extraordinary events, and some believe they hint at encounters with beings from beyond the stars. As these ancient writings are deciphered, they reveal a story that stretches beyond the bounds of human understanding, suggesting that the gods of Sumer may have been more than mere myth. One of the most compelling pieces of evidence comes from the Sumerian king list, a document that chronicles the reigns of the kings of Sumer, some of whom are said to have ruled for impossibly long periods. The list begins with rulers who supposedly reigned for thousands of years, a detail that has led some to speculate that these rulers were not human but rather divine beings with extraordinary lifespans. This extraordinary longevity might be interpreted as evidence of beings who were not bound by normal human constraints, potentially hinting at their otherworldly origins. Another critical text is the Enuma Elish, the Babylonian creation myth, which describes how the world was formed from the chaos of the primordial waters. In this epic, the gods are depicted as having immense power and advanced knowledge. The vivid descriptions of divine beings wielding remarkable technology and their battles in the heavens have been read by some as allegories for encounters with advanced extraterrestrial visitors. The epic's depiction of gods who manipulate the cosmos and shape the world can be seen as suggesting that these deities were not only powerful but also technologically advanced. The Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the most famous Sumerian texts, also contains intriguing references that some interpret as evidence of extraterrestrial involvement. Gilgamesh, the hero of the epic, is described as having interactions with divine beings who offer him knowledge and gifts. The descriptions of these beings, their actions, and their technology sometimes seem to surpass what one might expect from mere myths, leading some to propose that they could have been extraterrestrial visitors. Artifacts and inscriptions from Sumer further fuel this captivating theory. Among these, the cylinder seals are particularly noteworthy. These small, cylindrical objects, engraved with intricate scenes and texts, often depict gods with advanced attributes. Some of these images show figures with what appear to be technological devices, such as flying machines or strange symbols that could be interpreted as advanced technology. These depictions might be seen as representations of extraterrestrial beings and their equipment, hinting at a connection between the gods of Sumer and advanced technologies. The so-called Sumerian astronaut motif is another fascinating aspect. Some scholars have pointed to depictions of gods in elaborate headdresses and attire that resemble spacesuits, arguing that these visual elements could be symbolic of extraterrestrial visitors. The combination of these gods' majestic appearances with their advanced attributes and actions has been interpreted as evidence that the Sumerians might have been describing beings who were not of this world. Inscriptions on ancient Sumerian tablets also offer clues that some believe suggest an extraterrestrial presence. Certain texts describe gods descending from the heavens, performing miraculous feats, and imparting wisdom. These descriptions are often detailed and specific, hinting at knowledge and abilities far beyond what would have been known to early humans. Such accounts might be viewed as historical records of actual encounters with beings from other planets. As each artifact and text is studied, the lines between myth and reality blur, and the possibility of ancient extraterrestrial contact becomes a compelling narrative. The allure of these ancient stories, whether seen as divine myth or as hints of real contact with advanced beings, captivates the imagination and challenges our understanding of history. Through the lens of these ancient texts and artifacts, the gods of Sumer emerged not just as mythical figures but as potentially real entities whose impact on human civilization may have been profound and far-reaching. The idea that the Anunnaki, the ancient gods of Sumer, were not merely divine beings but extraterrestrial visitors has sparked a whirlwind of fascination and debate. Picture the ancient Sumerian city of Uruk, its towering ziggurats and bustling marketplaces, a place where the gods were said to walk among humans. Now, imagine these gods not as mere figments of myth, but as beings from another world, their divine attributes representing advanced technology and knowledge. This striking vision captures the imagination of many, fueling theories that the Anunnaki were actually astronauts from distant planets. One of the most compelling interpretations of the Anunnaki as astronauts comes from Zecharia Sitchin. His writings suggest that the Anunnaki were not just gods, but extraterrestrial beings from a planet called Nibiru, which allegedly orbits our sun in a long, elliptical path. According to Sitchin, the ancient texts describing the Anunnaki's descent from the heavens were actually historical accounts of their arrival in spacecraft. The gods who bestowed advanced knowledge and technology upon humanity were, in his view, visitors from the stars. This perspective brings a thrilling twist to ancient myths, suggesting that what were once considered divine gifts were, in fact, technological marvels from other worlds. This interpretation finds support in the works of others who have taken Sitchin's ideas further. For instance, some theorists point to the detailed descriptions of gods in Sumerian art and texts, suggesting that their elaborate costumes and symbols represent advanced technologies. Scenes of gods wielding lightning or creating life could be reinterpreted as references to futuristic tools and machines. These interpretations offer a dramatic reimagining of ancient stories, framing the Anunnaki not as mythical figures but as extraterrestrial mentors who shaped the course of human history. However, this bold theory is not without its critics. Many scholars argue that interpreting the Anunnaki as astronauts is a modern reinterpretation that imposes contemporary ideas onto ancient texts. They point out that the descriptions of gods in Sumerian art and literature are deeply embedded in the cultural and religious context of the time. These depictions, they argue, should be understood as symbolic representations of divine power and not as evidence of extraterrestrial contact. The gods' advanced attributes, in this view, are symbolic of their supernatural status rather than literal descriptions of technology. Critics also highlight that Sitchin's interpretations of Sumerian texts and artifacts are often based on controversial readings and selective evidence. They argue that there is no concrete archaeological or historical evidence to support the existence of a planet called Nibiru or its supposed influence on ancient civilizations. Furthermore, many of the supposed technological descriptions in Sumerian texts can be explained through the lens of mythology and religious symbolism rather than advanced technology. Another point of contention is the argument that the achievements of ancient civilizations can be attributed to human ingenuity and social development rather than extraterrestrial influence. Skeptics assert that early human societies were capable of remarkable achievements through their own efforts and creativity, without the need for alien intervention. They argue that attributing these accomplishments to extraterrestrial beings undermines the genuine achievements of ancient peoples. Despite these criticisms, the idea of the Anunnaki as astronauts continues to capture the imagination of many. The notion that ancient gods were visitors from the stars offers a tantalizing blend of history and science fiction, sparking a fascination with the possibility that humanity's early achievements were guided by beings from another world. This interpretation challenges conventional views of history and encourages us to think beyond the boundaries of our current understanding. As we reflect on these different perspectives, it becomes clear that the debate over the Anunnaki's true nature is as much about exploring the limits of human imagination as it is about interpreting ancient texts. Whether viewed as extraterrestrial beings or as symbols of divine power, the Anunnaki continue to inspire wonder and provoke thought, reminding us of the enduring mystery and allure of ancient mythology. The Anunnaki cast an indelible shadow across the ancient land of Mesopotamia, their presence woven into the very fabric of daily life and culture. Their influence was not limited to grand myths and temple legends, but seeped into every corner of society, shaping art, architecture, and governance in profound ways. Visualize the towering ziggurats that dominated the skyline of Sumerian cities. These monumental structures, rising towards the heavens, were more than just architectural marvels, they were tangible connections to the divine. The grand ziggurats were built as temples for the Anunnaki, designed to bridge the earthly realm with the divine. Each step of the structure, from its massive base to its crowning shrine, was meticulously crafted to honor the gods and ensure their favor. The sheer scale and intricate details of these buildings reflect the immense respect and devotion that the Sumerians had for their gods. Each brick, laid with reverence, symbolized a piece of their faith and the gods' eternal watchfulness over their lives. Art, too, was deeply infused with the presence of the Anunnaki. Temples and royal palaces were adorned with intricate carvings and statues depicting the gods in their majestic forms. Imagine the reliefs on ancient walls, where gods with elaborate headdresses and flowing robes are captured in scenes of celestial grandeur. These images were not merely decorative, they were intended to remind the people of the gods' omnipotence and their role in maintaining cosmic order. The Anunnaki were portrayed in ways that emphasized their divine status and power, often shown bestowing blessings or wielding symbols of authority. In everyday life, the Anunnaki were far from distant, remote figures. Their influence permeated the daily routines of the Mesopotamian people. From the simplest household rituals to the most elaborate state ceremonies, the gods were ever present. Temples and altars dedicated to the Anunnaki were common sights in both public and private spaces. Offerings of food, incense, and precious items were regularly made to ensure the gods' favor and protection. Such acts were not merely religious practices, but were deeply embedded in the social fabric, reflecting the gods' integral role in the life and well-being of individuals. Governance, too, was deeply intertwined with the will of the Anunnaki. The kings and rulers of Mesopotamia were not only political leaders, but were also seen as intermediaries between the gods and the people. Their authority was believed to be granted by the Anunnaki, and their rule was considered to be divinely sanctioned. Rulers would often consult oracles and seek divine guidance from the gods before making significant decisions. The laws and edicts issued by these leaders were framed as expressions of divine will, reinforcing the notion that governance was an extension of the gods' will. Religious festivals and ceremonies celebrating the Anunnaki were grand affairs, involving elaborate processions and rituals. During these events, the gods were honored with music, dance, and dramatic reenactments of their myths. Such celebrations not only reinforced the divine order but also served to unify the community in shared devotion. The vivid, communal aspect of these festivals brought the myths to life, allowing the people to experience the gods' presence in a tangible and emotionally charged manner. In this way, the Anunnaki were not merely mythological figures but lived as an omnipresent force in Mesopotamian culture. Their influence shaped not only the grand architectural and artistic achievements of the civilization but also the daily practices and governance that defined everyday life. Through temples and rituals, art and governance, the Anunnaki were an ever-present reminder of the divine and the mundane, a force that connected the human experience to the cosmic order. As you walk through the ancient corridors of myth and legend, you encounter echoes of familiar tales, whispered through the ages. The Anunnaki, with their majestic presence and divine roles, find their counterparts in the mythologies of neighboring civilizations. Their stories and attributes resonate across the ancient world, connecting diverse cultures through shared themes and characters. In ancient Egypt, the grandeur of the Anunnaki is mirrored by the gods of the Nile. The powerful Enlil, lord of wind and storms, finds a parallel in the Egyptian god Seth, who rules over chaos and desert storms. Just as Enlil's fierce temperament and control over the elements shaped Sumerian life, Seth's dominance over the desert and his turbulent nature influenced Egyptian society. Both gods were seen as vital forces, capable of bringing both destruction and protection. Similarly, the role of Enki, the god of wisdom and water, echoes in the figure of Thoth, the Egyptian god of wisdom and writing. Enki's benevolent acts of guiding humanity and his association with water as a life-giving force are paralleled by Thoth's role as a bringer of knowledge and a mediator between gods and humans. Both deities were central to the flow of wisdom and the maintenance of cosmic order, revered for their gifts to humanity. Moving westward, the influence of the Anunnaki can be seen in the myths of the ancient Greeks. The Anunnaki's hierarchical structure of gods, each with their own realms and responsibilities, resonates with the Olympian gods of Greek mythology. For instance, the role of Anu, the sky god and chief deity in Sumerian lore, is reminiscent of Zeus, the king of the Greek gods. Both figures preside over the divine assembly, their authority unquestioned and their influence pervasive. The creation myths involving the Anunnaki, where gods shape the world and humanity, also find a reflection in Greek mythology. The epic tales of the Titans and the creation of the world by deities like Gaia and Uranus echo the Sumerian accounts of gods creating life and establishing order. Both mythologies depict a world where divine beings play a crucial role in the formation and governance of the cosmos. In the ancient Near East, the influence of the Anunnaki extended to the Hittites and their deities. The Hittite storm god, Tezhub, shares similarities with Enlil, both commanding the elements and wielding great power. Tezhub's role in controlling the weather and his fierce nature parallel Enlil's influence over storms and his formidable presence in Sumerian mythology. The Anunnaki's presence is also felt in the Babylonian myths, where they evolved into new forms. The Babylonians adopted and adapted the Sumerian Pantheon, integrating the Anunnaki into their own mythology. Marduk, the chief deity of Babylon, took on roles similar to those of Enlil, wielding authority and shaping the cosmos. This assimilation of Anunnaki traits into Babylonian gods reflects the deep impact of Sumerian beliefs on their neighbors. This cross-cultural exchange highlights not just similarities but also the ways in which each civilization uniquely interpreted and integrated the divine. While the core themes of powerful gods shaping the world and influencing human affairs remained consistent, each culture infused these stories with its own values and symbols. The Anunnaki's mythological legacy, therefore, transcends borders, connecting different peoples through shared narratives and divine archetypes. In these ancient myths, The Anunnaki and their counterparts in other cultures are not merely figures of legend, but symbols of universal themes. Their stories, filled with awe and wonder, reflect the human need to understand the forces that shape our world. The gods who commanded storms, bestowed wisdom, and created life resonate across cultures, bridging gaps and forging connections that span centuries and civilizations. In the dusty sands of ancient Mesopotamia, buried treasures have whispered tales of gods and legends, thrilling archaeologists and historians alike. Each discovery, like a piece of a cosmic puzzle, has illuminated the enigmatic world of the Anunnaki, casting light on their influence and impact on early human civilization. One of the most compelling finds came from the ruins of Nippur, a city steeped in Sumerian history. There, archaeologists unearthed the remnants of a grand temple dedicated to Enlil, the supreme god of the Sumerian Pantheon. The temple's colossal ziggurat, towering over the ancient landscape, was adorned with intricate carvings that depicted the god in scenes of divine authority. These inscriptions, painstakingly etched into the stone, revealed Enlil in his full, majestic form, holding symbols of power and protection. The grandeur of the temple and its decorations spoke volumes about how the Sumerians viewed their gods, especially Enlil, who was considered the ruler of the heavens and the earth. Further north, in the ruins of Ur, the excavation of royal graves provided a glimpse into the Anunnaki's spiritual significance. Among the artifacts were beautifully crafted cylinder seals, bearing inscriptions that referenced the gods and their divine roles. One seal, in particular, showed Enki with a flowing beard and a sacred vase, symbolizing the life-giving waters he was believed to control. These seals were not merely artistic, they were imbued with a sense of reverence, suggesting that the gods were deeply woven into the fabric of daily life and governance. The city of Babylon, too, has yielded astonishing finds. Among the most intriguing was the discovery of the Enuma Elish tablets, which recounted the epic creation myth involving Marduk, a god who inherited many attributes from the Anunnaki. These clay tablets, with their cuneiform script, revealed the dramatic tale of how Marduk, after a fierce battle, created the world and ordered the cosmos. The tablets were a window into the evolution of the Anunnaki myths as they merged with Babylonian beliefs, showing how these divine figures continued to shape human understanding of the world. In addition to these monumental finds, smaller artifacts have added layers of depth to the story of the Anunnaki. Figurines, often made of clay or precious stones, depicted various gods in vivid detail. One such artifact from the site of Mari illustrated the goddess Ninhursag, with delicate features and an elaborate headdress. These figurines were not just religious symbols but also a testament to the Anunnaki's influence on art and daily rituals, highlighting their importance in both the spiritual and mundane aspects of life. Each artifact, inscription, and ruin not only deepens our understanding of the Anunnaki but also connects us to the people who once revered them. The sheer scale of these discoveries, the monumental temples, intricate seals, and poignant figurines, echoes the profound impact these deities had on the ancient world. They were not distant or abstract, they were central to the lives of the Sumerians and their descendants, shaping their culture, their beliefs, and their daily existence. The significance of these finds goes beyond their historical value. They evoke a sense of awe and wonder, reminding us of the rich tapestry of human imagination and devotion that wove together these ancient stories. The Anunnaki, through these discoveries, step out of the shadows of myth and into the light of history, revealing their enduring legacy in the heart of Mesopotamian civilization. In the heart of ancient Mesopotamia, art was not just a way to decorate walls or create statues, it was a language of the divine. The Anunnaki, with their mysterious and powerful presence, were immortalized in art that speaks to us from thousands of years ago, telling stories of gods who shaped the cosmos and human destiny. One of the most striking examples comes from the famed Ishtar Gate of Babylon, where grand scenes from the divine realm are etched in vibrant blue glazed bricks. Here, the goddess Ishtar, a figure deeply intertwined with the Anunnaki Pantheon, is depicted in a majestic procession, surrounded by fierce lions, symbols of her power and protection. The artistry isn't just decoration, it's a statement of divine authority, a visual proclamation that the gods were ever present, watching over the city and its people. Another powerful depiction can be found on the cylinder seals from the city of Ur. These small, intricately carved artifacts were used to imprint designs on clay or other surfaces. One particular seal shows Enki, the god of wisdom and water, holding a vase from which streams of water flow, a symbol of life and abundance. His figure is depicted with a long beard and a serene expression, highlighting his role as a nurturing force. The details of his robe and the flowing water are not merely artistic choices, but convey deeper meanings about his divine attributes and his connection to the life-giving forces of nature. In the ancient city of Nippur, where Enlil, the chief deity, was worshipped, the art forms take on a grand scale. The walls of his temple are adorned with colossal carvings showing him in the company of other gods and goddesses, each scene crafted with a precision that underscores their celestial status. These carvings are not just artistic achievements but theological statements, illustrating Enlil's supreme role in the divine hierarchy and his influence over the world below. Symbolism in Sumerian art also reveals a lot about the Anunnaki's roles. For instance, the winged disc, a common motif, represents divine protection and authority. It often appears in the iconography associated with the gods, signifying their watchful presence over human affairs. The intricacy of the wings, the radiance of the disc, these elements are not just decorative but are meant to evoke a sense of the divine's power and grandeur. The depiction of the Anunnaki in art was also a way to communicate their attributes to the common people. For instance, the goddess Ninhursag, often shown with a lush tree or fertile land, was portrayed as a nurturing mother of the earth. Her images, rich with symbols of fertility and growth, were intended to remind people of the gods' vital role in ensuring the land's prosperity and their connection to the cycle of life. Each artifact, each carving, each piece of art tells a story beyond the surface. The artisans who crafted these works poured their devotion and understanding of the divine into their creations. These images were more than just representations, they were a way for the people of ancient Mesopotamia to connect with their gods, to feel their presence, and to express their reverence. Through the lens of these ancient artworks, the Anunnaki emerged not just as distant deities but as active participants in the world of the living. Their presence in art is a testament to their enduring influence and a reflection of how deeply they were woven into the fabric of Sumerian life. These visual expressions of the divine continue to resonate, bridging the gap between ancient and modern, reminding us of a time when art and belief were inseparable, and gods walked among men in the vibrant strokes of human creativity. On a dusty clay tablet, engraved in cuneiform script, lies a chronicle that has mesmerized historians and archaeologists alike. The Sumerian King's List, an ancient manuscript that reads like a divine ledger, offers an extraordinary glimpse into a world where gods and kings intermingle in the most remarkable way. It is a record that transcends time, blending the realms of the divine with the mundane. The King's List starts with a stunning claim. It chronicles the reigns of rulers who were said to have ruled for thousands of years before the Great Flood, a flood so catastrophic that it reshaped the very fabric of existence. This document doesn't just list kings, it sets the stage for an epic saga, where the line between the divine and the human becomes breathtakingly thin. The opening of the King's List speaks of kings who reigned for hundreds, even thousands of years. These were not ordinary men, but beings who seemed to touch the heavens themselves. The kings were believed to have received their authority directly from the gods, specifically the Anunnaki, whose influence was thought to extend from the celestial to the terrestrial. One striking feature of this list is its connection to the Anunnaki. It names gods who were said to have ruled alongside the first human kings, blurring the lines between divine and royal. These divine rulers were depicted as the intermediaries between the heavens and the earth, ensuring that the mortal kings received their mandate directly from the divine beings. The Anunnaki were not distant gods, but active participants in the establishment of order and justice on earth. They weren't merely overseeing from afar, but were deeply involved in the governance of the world, setting the stage for human rulers to follow their divine example. However, the King's List is not just a document of divine rule, but also a point of contention and debate. Scholars wrestle with its historical accuracy, wondering whether it is a true account of past events or a grand narrative crafted to glorify the Sumerian kings and their divine connections. The extended lifespans attributed to these early rulers stretch the limits of credulity. Was this a reflection of actual long reigns or a symbolic representation of their extraordinary divine favor? There are debates about whether the list was meant to be a literal historical record or a mythic account, blending fact and fiction in a way that was meaningful to the people of ancient Mesopotamia. Some argue that it was a way to legitimize the rule of later kings by linking them to these divine predecessors, thus strengthening their claims to the throne. Others view it as a complex piece of religious literature, blending myth and history to reflect the deep-seated belief that divine favor was a crucial element of successful kingship. The tension between myth and reality in the King's List captures the imagination. It evokes a time when the divine was not just a distant concept, but an active force in shaping human destinies. The kings who followed in the footsteps of these divine predecessors were seen not merely as rulers, but as inheritors of a divine legacy, tasked with maintaining the cosmic order established by the gods. The Sumerian King's List is more than just a historical document, it's a window into how ancient peoples understood their world, their gods, and their rulers. It reflects a time when the divine was intimately woven into the fabric of daily life, where the boundaries between gods and kings were not clearly defined, but were part of a grand and awe-inspiring narrative. It's a reminder of how deeply intertwined the sacred and the earthly were perceived to be, and how these perceptions shaped the very foundation of one of the world's earliest civilizations. In the dim glow of ancient Mesopotamian twilight, scribes painstakingly etched stories onto clay tablets, their cuneiform symbols capturing the heartbeat of a civilization. These tablets, now dusty and weathered, carry whispers from a distant past, resonating with profound mysteries and divine narratives that have captivated minds for centuries. Among these sacred texts, the Enuma Elish stands out as a dramatic cosmic epic, echoing through the ages. This Babylonian creation myth describes a primordial chaos from which the gods emerge. The tale begins with a world that is nothing but a tumultuous sea, where the freshwater goddess Tiamat and the saltwater god Apsu exist in a state of discord. From this chaotic abyss, the gods are born, and a struggle ensues. It's a story of divine battles, where Marduk, the storm god, rises from the chaos to impose order and create the world as we know it. Marduk's victory over Tiamat is not merely a tale of conflict, but a profound reflection of the struggle between order and chaos, good and evil, where the cosmos is shaped by divine will. His emergence as the supreme deity and the subsequent creation of humanity from the blood of a slain god illustrate a narrative where divine forces shape the world, emphasizing the god's integral role in establishing and maintaining cosmic order. Equally captivating are the tales inscribed in the Erish, though fragments of this text have left scholars piecing together its full story. This text, like the Enuma Elish, is steeped in the divine drama of creation and governance, painting a vivid picture of the gods' interaction with the world. The Erish reveals a pantheon of deities who actively influence human affairs, underscoring their deep involvement in earthly matters. The ancient texts don't just tell stories, they invite readers to ponder the divine nature of existence and the gods' omnipresence. They whisper of a time when the divine was tangible, and human destinies were closely entwined with celestial forces. However, these ancient tablets have sparked intense debates and controversies. Some interpretations view these texts as straightforward religious accounts, while others propose that they might reflect deeper truths or encoded messages about humanity's origins and its relationship with the cosmos. The Enuma Elish, for example, has been the center of a heated discussion regarding its implications for understanding ancient astronomy and cosmology. Critics argue that the text might encode astronomical knowledge that was passed down through generations, suggesting that the gods' battles represent celestial phenomena. The theory that these ancient texts contain hidden messages about extraterrestrial beings has intrigued many. Some believe that the dramatic narratives of gods and cosmic battles are allegories for encounters with advanced beings from beyond Earth. This interpretation adds an exhilarating layer to the ancient stories, suggesting that our ancestors might have been in contact with extraterrestrial entities whose influence shaped their understanding of the universe. Controversial as these interpretations might be, they highlight the enigmatic nature of these texts. The ancient Sumerians and Babylonians left behind not just records, but mysteries that continue to ignite the imagination. The tablets, with their intricate stories and divine dramas, speak to a time when the boundary between the human and the divine was as fluid as the rivers of Mesopotamia. Each text is a thread in the rich tapestry of ancient belief, offering a glimpse into how early civilizations viewed their place in the cosmos. They capture a world where gods walked among men, shaping destinies and weaving the very fabric of existence. As scholars continue to interpret these ancient writings, the echoes of their divine narratives continue to stir our imagination and deepen our wonder at the mysteries of the ancient world. The echoes of ancient Sumerian myths resonate like a timeless symphony, shaping the cultures that followed with a profound and enduring influence. The grandeur of Sumerian legends didn't just fade into history, it flowed seamlessly into the mythologies of Babylon, Assyria, and Akkad, creating a rich tapestry of shared stories and divine figures that would leave an indelible mark on the ancient world. In the heart of Babylon, the legacy of Sumerian deities was transformed but never lost. Babylonian mythology absorbed and adapted the Sumerian Pantheon, weaving these ancient gods into its own grand narrative. Marduk, the Babylonian chief deity, was elevated to supreme status, inheriting the mantle from the Sumerian gods like Enlil and Enki. His legendary battle against Tiamat was not merely a tale of cosmic conflict, but a central story that defined Babylonian religion and culture. The Enuma Elish, a Babylonian epic, echoed the Sumerian creation myths, but with a distinct Babylonian twist, reinforcing Marduk's role as the ultimate creator and king of the gods. The Assyrians, too, drew deeply from Sumerian traditions, incorporating them into their own rich cultural fabric. They revered gods like Ashur, who became a central figure in their pantheon, but the influence of earlier Sumerian deities was unmistakable. Assyrian myths and royal inscriptions often reflected the same divine drama found in Sumerian stories, reinterpreted through the lens of Assyrian beliefs and political power. This blend of old and new created a unique mythology that honored the past while asserting its own cultural identity. The Akkadians, emerging from the shadow of the Sumerians, also carried forward the torch of these ancient myths. Akkadian texts and inscriptions frequently referenced Sumerian gods, demonstrating a continuity of belief and reverence. The Akkadian language itself became the medium through which many Sumerian myths were recorded and preserved. This cultural exchange helped to keep the stories of gods like Enki and Ninhursag alive, even as Akkadian civilization expanded its influence across Mesopotamia. As centuries passed, the myths and legends of these ancient civilizations left a lasting imprint on their successors and beyond. The stories of divine battles, creation, and cosmic order continued to inspire and shape religious thought in the region. They influenced not only neighboring cultures but also left a legacy that would echo through the ages, reaching as far as later empires and even into modern interpretations of ancient history. The long-term impact of Sumerian mythology is a testament to its enduring power. These myths did more than explain the world to the people of Mesopotamia. They became the bedrock of a shared cultural heritage that transcended individual empires and left a lasting legacy on human imagination and storytelling. The divine dramas, celestial battles, and creation tales of the Sumerians became part of a larger mythological continuum, influencing not just the immediate successors but also inspiring generations of storytellers, scholars, and dreamers. Through the ages, the stories of the Sumerian gods have continued to resonate, captivating those who seek to understand the ancient world. Their impact is felt not just in the relics of the past, but in the way these ancient tales have woven themselves into the very fabric of human culture. In the shadows of ancient history, where the echoes of long-forgotten deities linger, the Anunnaki have found a remarkable resurgence in the vivid landscape of modern popular culture. These enigmatic gods, once revered in the dusty ruins of Mesopotamian cities, now capture the imagination of millions through literature, films, and media, reflecting a deep-seated fascination with the mysteries of our past. The Anunnaki's journey into the modern world began with a spark of intrigue that ignited a fire in creative minds across various mediums. In literature, they have transformed into powerful symbols of cosmic influence and ancient wisdom. Writers have reimagined these deities as celestial beings with far-reaching agendas, blending them into stories that merge the historical with the speculative. Their ancient mythologies are woven into contemporary narratives, giving rise to tales of epic struggles and divine conspiracies that resonate with readers on a primal level. Films have embraced the Anunnaki with an almost cinematic zeal. The visual allure of these gods, with their majestic, otherworldly presence, makes them perfect subjects for the big screen. From grandiose depictions in sci-fi blockbusters to subtle references in fantasy genres, the Anunnaki's allure has been transformed into a visual spectacle that stirs awe and wonder. The imagery of towering deities descending from the heavens or wielding ancient, cosmic power taps into a deep well of human imagination, creating a bridge between the ancient and the modern that captivates audiences worldwide. Media has also played a significant role in reshaping the Anunnaki into icons of mystery and intrigue. Documentaries, television series, and online content have delved into the enigmatic nature of these gods, often exploring controversial theories and speculative ideas. The portrayal of the Anunnaki as ancient astronauts or extraterrestrial beings in some media reflects a broader cultural fascination with the unknown and the possibility of ancient advanced civilizations. These modern interpretations blend historical fact with imaginative fiction, creating a compelling narrative that continues to intrigue and captivate. The influence of these portrayals extends beyond mere entertainment. They spark curiosity and drive people to explore ancient texts and archaeological findings, seeking to connect the mythological with the historical. The Anunnaki's presence in modern culture acts as a conduit for exploring broader themes of human existence, divine intervention, and the nature of power. Their stories challenge us to rethink our understanding of history and mythology, encouraging a new generation to engage with the mysteries of the past. Yet, amidst the allure of these modern depictions, there lies a poignant reminder of the enduring power of myth. The Anunnaki's resurgence in popular culture highlights how ancient stories can evolve and adapt, touching the hearts and minds of people across time. Their transformation from distant, ancient deities to dynamic figures in contemporary narratives underscores the timeless nature of these myths and their ability to inspire awe and wonder in every era. The Anunnaki, once gods of a distant civilization, now serve as symbols of a shared human curiosity about the divine and the cosmic. Their journey from ancient texts to modern screens reflects a deep-seated need to connect with something greater than ourselves, to explore the mysteries of existence, and to find meaning in the stories that have shaped human history. Through literature, film, and media, the Anunnaki continue to captivate and inspire, bridging the gap between the ancient and the modern in a way that is both magical and profoundly touching. Picture the dusty shelves of academic libraries and the glow of ancient manuscripts being examined under the gaze of modern scholars. The Anunnaki, these ancient gods from the heart of Mesopotamian lore, have long captivated the minds of researchers. Their mysteries have been the subject of intense scrutiny and debate, revealing a fascinating landscape of scholarly opinions and theories. In the realm of academic research, the Anunnaki are seen through the lens of history and archaeology. Scholars approach them as deities who once held significant importance in the lives of ancient Mesopotamian peoples. Mainstream research tends to focus on understanding the Anunnaki within their historical and cultural contexts. Academics meticulously study ancient texts, inscriptions, and artifacts to piece together the roles these gods played in Sumerian society. They analyze the myths and legends, trying to decipher the religious, social, and political functions these deities served. From these studies, a picture emerges of a pantheon that was central to the spiritual and everyday life of an ancient civilization. The mainstream view portrays the Anunnaki as gods who were deeply embedded in the fabric of Sumerian culture. They are seen as symbols of the natural and supernatural forces that ancient peoples sought to understand and appease. In this academic framework, the Anunnaki are not just figures of myth, but integral elements of the historical record. Researchers examine their roles in creation myths, governance, and cosmology, revealing how these gods influenced everything from agriculture to the very structure of society. Yet, alongside these conventional interpretations, alternative theories have emerged, capturing the imagination of those drawn to more speculative ideas. These theories often venture beyond the bounds of traditional scholarship, proposing that the Anunnaki might have had a more extraordinary role than what historical evidence suggests. Some alternative viewpoints suggest that the Anunnaki were not merely gods, but possibly ancient astronauts or extraterrestrial beings who visited Earth long ago. These ideas are fueled by interpretations of ancient texts and artifacts that seem to hint at advanced technology or otherworldly influences. Enthusiasts of these theories point to depictions of gods in ancient art and myths as evidence of such extraordinary claims. The debate between mainstream and alternative theories is both passionate and profound. On one side, scholars rely on rigorous analysis of archaeological finds and historical documents to build a picture of the Anunnaki based on evidence and historical context. On the other, proponents of alternative theories challenge conventional interpretations, suggesting that the Anunnaki might have left behind clues that modern science has yet to fully understand. This clash of perspectives adds a layer of drama and intrigue to the study of the Anunnaki. It highlights the tension between the known and the unknown, between what is firmly established and what remains open to exploration. For scholars, this debate is more than just academic. It reflects a deeper quest to understand humanity's place in the cosmos and the nature of our ancient past. In the end, the study of the Anunnaki is a journey into the heart of human curiosity. Whether through the meticulous examination of ancient texts or the imaginative exploration of alternative theories, the quest to understand these ancient deities reflects our broader search for meaning and connection. The Anunnaki, through both traditional and speculative lenses, continue to inspire and provoke, reminding us of the rich tapestry of human thought and the endless possibilities that lie beyond the horizon of our understanding. Imagine a world where ancient deities are not mere figures of myth, but visitors from the stars, beings whose technology shaped our early civilizations. This is the allure of the astronaut theory, which claims that extraterrestrials influenced ancient cultures, leaving behind clues hidden in sacred texts and ancient artifacts. The theory has captivated many, offering a thrilling alternative to traditional historical narratives. However, as with any bold idea, it faces intense scrutiny and skepticism from experts. Critics of the astronaut theory argue that it often stretches the evidence too far. To them, the theory relies on speculative interpretations rather than solid proof. Ancient texts, like those from Sumerian culture, are seen as rich in metaphor and allegory, not as records of extraterrestrial visits. Scholars point out that ancient civilizations had their own ways of understanding the world, which involved deities and myths that made sense within their cultural context. They argue that interpreting these texts as accounts of alien encounters overlooks the possibility that the ancient people were simply describing their environment through the lens of their own beliefs and experiences. Moreover, critics highlight that many of the supposed evidence for the astronaut theory, such as depictions of gods in ancient art, can be explained by the symbolic and religious nature of these representations. For instance, images of gods with advanced technology might be seen as symbolic of divine power rather than actual technology. This symbolic interpretation aligns with how ancient peoples often used art to convey complex ideas and beliefs. Another significant criticism is the lack of concrete archaeological evidence to support the theory. While some claim that ancient structures and artifacts show signs of advanced technology, critics argue that these interpretations often ignore simpler explanations. Ancient engineering marvels, like the pyramids of Egypt or the ziggurats of Mesopotamia, are better understood through the ingenuity and skills of the people who built them rather than through the lens of alien intervention. Experts also challenge the theory by pointing out that it sometimes disregards the cultural and historical context of ancient civilizations. The astronaut theory, they argue, imposes a modern perspective on ancient cultures, ignoring how these societies understood and documented their world. Ancient texts and artifacts, when studied within their proper historical context, reveal much about the beliefs and achievements of these people without needing to invoke extraterrestrial explanations. In response, proponents of the astronaut theory argue that critics may be too quick to dismiss the possibility of extraterrestrial influences. They contend that the gaps in our understanding of ancient technologies and the enigmatic nature of some ancient texts justify a broader range of interpretations. To them, the lack of conventional evidence does not necessarily disprove the theory. It might simply reflect our current limitations in understanding ancient cultures and technologies. They also argue that mainstream archaeology and history have sometimes been slow to adapt to new ideas and evidence. According to this perspective, the astronaut theory challenges us to think beyond conventional explanations and consider the possibility that ancient civilizations had contact with beings beyond our planet. This ongoing debate between critics and proponents of the astronaut theory underscores the passion and complexity of human curiosity. It reflects a broader quest to understand our past and the mysteries that continue to fascinate us. While the astronaut theory remains controversial and faces significant skepticism, it also sparks deep conversations about our place in the universe and the nature of our historical narratives. Imagine a world where ancient gods, long thought to be relegated to dusty history books, are rediscovered as the key to understanding our future. Today, contemporary groups are breathing new life into the myth of the Anunnaki, viewing these ancient beings not just as deities of old but as pivotal figures in shaping human destiny. For many modern followers, the Anunnaki have become symbols of profound wisdom and cosmic connection. They see these ancient gods as advanced beings who visited Earth in ancient times, leaving behind clues about our true origins and potential. According to these beliefs, the Anunnaki were not just gods but extraterrestrial travelers whose influence stretches across time, guiding humanity's evolution and understanding of the universe. In the world of New Age spirituality and esoteric movements, the Anunnaki are often depicted as the architects of human civilization. Believers claim that these gods imparted essential knowledge and technology to early humans, which has been misinterpreted or hidden over millennia. To them, ancient texts and artifacts are not mere relics but messages from a forgotten cosmic past, revealing the Anunnaki's role in shaping human history and destiny. These modern interpretations often blend ancient myths with contemporary ideas about extraterrestrial life and advanced technology. Followers might argue that ancient depictions of the Anunnaki, such as those found on Sumerian tablets, are evidence of advanced technology misunderstood by ancient people. They believed that these deities, with their otherworldly powers, were actually visitors from distant planets, leaving behind a legacy encoded in the myths and structures they built. The allure of these modern interpretations lies in their promise of a deeper, more mystical understanding of our place in the universe. Followers often find solace and inspiration in the idea that humanity is part of a grand cosmic plan, guided by ancient beings who once walked among us. This belief can offer a sense of connection to a larger cosmic story, providing comfort in the face of life's uncertainties. Esoteric movements, which often focus on hidden knowledge and spiritual awakening, have embraced the Anunnaki as central figures in their teachings. These groups might incorporate the Anunnaki into their rituals and practices, using the myths surrounding these deities as a framework for spiritual exploration and growth. The idea that ancient gods once interacted with humanity can add a profound layer to spiritual practices, suggesting that our ancestors were in contact with advanced beings whose wisdom can still influence us today. In these modern beliefs, the Anunnaki are more than just figures of ancient myth. They are seen as key to unlocking hidden truths about human origins and the universe. This interpretation offers a tantalizing glimpse into a possible past where ancient gods played an active role in shaping the future. It provides a narrative that blends the excitement of discovering our cosmic heritage with the hope of connecting to a greater, mystical reality. This fascination with the Anunnaki reflects a broader human desire to connect with something larger than ourselves. It speaks to a longing for meaning and understanding in a complex world, suggesting that ancient myths can offer insights into our deepest questions about existence and purpose. In a time when the boundaries between science fiction and reality blur, the story of the Anunnaki serves as a powerful reminder of our enduring quest for knowledge and connection. In the shadows of ancient lore and modern speculation, the Anunnaki have become central figures in a web of conspiracy theories that weave together mystery, extraterrestrial life, and hidden truths. Picture the thrill of uncovering a hidden reality, where ancient gods are not just myths, but the key to understanding the deepest secrets of our world. These theories paint a dramatic picture of powerful beings shaping human destiny from behind the scenes, influencing everything from our history to our present. Some conspiracy theories propose that the Anunnaki were not mere deities but advanced extraterrestrial visitors who manipulated early human societies. According to these ideas, the Anunnaki came to Earth thousands of years ago, bringing with them incredible technology and knowledge. This advanced civilization supposedly helped establish human culture and governance, leaving behind a legacy that has been deliberately obscured by those in power. These theories suggest that modern elites are aware of this hidden history and have worked to keep it from the general public to maintain control. The impact of these theories is profound. For many, they offer an exciting alternative to mainstream history, suggesting that our world is filled with secrets waiting to be revealed. The idea that ancient myths could be rooted in real extraterrestrial contact taps into a deep-seated desire for connection with a greater cosmic narrative. This belief can provide a sense of purpose and wonder, as if our everyday lives are part of a grander, more mysterious story. However, these theories also face significant scrutiny. Critics argue that they often lack concrete evidence and rely heavily on speculative interpretations of ancient texts and artifacts. Many of the claims are built on tenuous connections and a tendency to see patterns where none may exist. The fascination with the Anunnaki as extraterrestrials can sometimes overshadow more plausible explanations for ancient myths and historical events. Despite the skepticism, these theories have gained a considerable following. Books, documentaries, and online forums continue to propagate the idea that the Anunnaki were powerful beings who influenced human history in ways we are only beginning to understand. This enduring interest reflects a broader cultural fascination with the idea that our world is shaped by hidden forces and that there is more to our history than meets the eye. In analyzing these conspiracy theories, it is essential to balance intrigue with critical thinking. While the idea of ancient gods as extraterrestrial beings is captivating, it is crucial to examine the evidence and consider alternative explanations. The allure of these theories lies in their ability to spark the imagination and challenge our understanding of history and reality. Yet, it is through careful scrutiny and open-minded inquiry that we can separate the extraordinary from the speculative and find a clearer view of our past and our place in the universe. In the heart of ancient Mesopotamia, where the echoes of old legends still whisper through the ages, the Anunnaki stand out as some of the most compelling figures of myth and mystery. The tales surrounding these deities weave a complex tapestry of creation, power, and cosmic intrigue that continues to captivate and inspire. The Anunnaki, according to Sumerian myths, were divine beings who played a pivotal role in shaping the world and human destiny. Their influence stretches from the creation of humanity itself to the grand narratives of kings and rulers who sought their favor. These gods were thought to have descended from the heavens, their purpose entwined with the very fabric of existence and governance. Central to understanding the Anunnaki's significance is the creation myth. Ancient texts recount how these deities shaped the earth and humanity, instilling order and purpose in a primordial chaos. They are portrayed as the architects of civilization, their divine hands crafting not just the land but the very essence of human society. This creation story is not just a historical account but a reflection of the divine order that the Anunnaki were believed to uphold. The Epic of Gilgamesh, a cornerstone of Mesopotamian literature, reveals the profound impact of the Anunnaki on human affairs. In this epic, the gods are more than distant figures, they are active participants in the hero's journey. Their interactions with Gilgamesh highlight the gods' roles in guiding, testing, and shaping human fate. The Anunnaki's presence in the epic underscores their importance in understanding the divine and mortal interplay, illustrating how ancient peoples perceived their connection with the gods. Among the most dramatic tales is the Deluge myth, where the Anunnaki are deeply involved in a cataclysmic flood that cleanses the earth. This story, which mirrors other ancient flood narratives, showcases the Anunnaki as both destroyers and saviors. Their decision to unleash the flood reflects their immense power and the belief that they controlled the forces of nature. It is a tale of divine judgment and mercy, and it resonates with the universal themes of destruction and renewal. As time progressed, the Anunnaki's legacy did not fade but rather evolved. The influence of these ancient gods spread to neighboring cultures, shaping the mythologies of the Babylonians, Assyrians, and Akkadians. Their stories and attributes were absorbed into other traditions, reflecting the profound impact they had on the broader ancient Near Eastern world. The continuity and adaptation of their myths reveal a shared cultural heritage that transcends individual civilizations. In modern times, the Anunnaki have not only persisted in ancient texts but have also become central figures in popular culture and speculative theories. Books, films, and documentaries have explored the idea that these gods were extraterrestrial beings who visited Earth and influenced human development. This contemporary fascination reflects a desire to connect with the divine and the unknown, showing how ancient myths continue to inspire and provoke thought. Scholarly perspectives on the Anunnaki range from rigorous historical analysis to more speculative theories about their extraterrestrial origins. Academic research has provided valuable insights into the historical and cultural contexts of the Anunnaki, while alternative theories have sparked lively debates about the nature of ancient knowledge and its implications. In summary, the Anunnaki are more than just ancient deities, they are symbols of humanity's quest for understanding and connection with the divine. Their stories, myths, and influence illustrate a profound narrative that bridges the ancient and the modern, the real and the speculative. These gods continue to capture our imagination, reminding us of the enduring power of myth and the quest to uncover the deeper truths of our existence.